I love YouTube. It's a bottomless hole of information and entertainment. You can sit there and watch an entire channel's history for hours only to do it again and again when you find another content creator. Inevitably, watching that much YouTube means that I've become well versed in the wide range of ads that pop up during YouTube videos. I've had video game ads, diaper ads, even ads that, well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the target demographic for. However, one ad that I had recently caught my attention. It was an ad for the comic online webtoon called Everything is Fine. The ads varied from showing the art to having stock footage, but the thing that brought the ads together was simple. Everything was not fine. As weeks went by, I started to get the ad more and more, and I would even sit there and watch the entire ad just to get more information on what the heck was going on. Eventually, I sat down and read the 23 chapters that were available at that time. Needless to say, I was hooked. Come with me as I analyze the first 4 chapters of the story to see what's really going on in this seemingly idyllic town. I'll be analyzing the entire chapter in great detail, so go and read the story if you haven't already. With that, let's begin. The comic starts off by showing us what looks like a nice little suburb. We are then greeted by 3 panels that show an alarm clock that goes off. In these 3 panels, one with an eye for detail can already see that something's wrong. In the first panel, we see that the time is 2:59, and in the subsequent panel, the clock says 2:60, not 3 o'clock, as one would expect. Furthermore, the person in the bed, Sam, is sitting up, not lying down, as one would expect in this situation. After this scene, Sam goes down the stairs to see his wife, Maggie, cooking bacon, which she promptly burns. She states that she was daydreaming again, and this is another hint at the state of mind that Maggie is in at the moment. Regardless of the setback, Sam takes it in stride and suggests that Maggie give the burnt bacon to their dog Winston. It will come back to him later. After some playful banter between the two, Sam abruptly tells Maggie that he loves her, and the two begin to have a conversation that, if read between the lines, tells us a lot more about their situation than they ever directly state. In their conversation, Sam mentions that Johnson is giving him extra work, to which Maggie states her disappointment that he isn't able to assert himself to his boss. Reading in between the lines, one can see the true reason behind this seemingly innocent exchange. Sam insists that playing the game is the only way to get ahead, while Maggie believes that it is useless, as at the end of the day, the company still has a vice grip on him. While this is a conversation about job advancement, this could also be parallel to the society that they currently live in. Regardless, Sam doubles down at the end, stating that they need to forget. Forget what exactly? We don't know at this point, but it's something to keep in the back of your head for later. In the last scene of the chapter, we finally meet Winston as Maggie goes to feed him. Interestingly, we see that his food bowl is already filled. Again, something is wrong. In a chapter that gave us nothing more than questions, we finally get an answer. Winston, in fact, is dead. Maggie just goes through the motions of feeding him to keep up the idea that, again, everything is okay. Chapter 2 begins at an empty playground where Maggie sits on a nearby bench. Sam calls her and she tells him that she's at the park. We don't hear his side of the conversation, but it seems that he doesn't want her to be at the park and she apologizes for being there. What's wrong with being at the park? We don't know, at least not yet. The next scene brings us into a store called Buy Goods. Here, we get a lot of information about the society that Maggie and Sam live in. Here, it seems that brands are non-existent. There is only a generic type of every product, and everything is alphabetized by name and served in metal cans. Above the shelves are 2 security cameras. With how utilitarian everything is, the security cameras just hammer home the point that the artist tried to make. These characters live in a dystopian society. While looking through the aisles, Maggie notices that one of the tuna cans is mislabeled. Instead of having the English word tuna, it has the word tuna written in Japanese katakana. From the very first panel at the grocery store, it was clear that everything was uniform and in order. As Maggie picks up the can, Charlie startles her. Charlie is her neighbor. Unlike Maggie and Sam, Charlie seems like he has much less interest in pretend everything is okay. In fact, it seemed like he wanted to talk to Maggie about the unique tuna can. She goes to ask him if everything is okay, and he gets mad and storms off. Unlike Maggie and Sam, he doesn't care to pretend that everything is okay. As he leaves, Maggie notices that he has several boxes of foil in his cart. What that is for is anyone's guess at this point. When Maggie returns to her house, she is greeted by her next-door neighbors, Bob and Linda. Bob and Linda present themselves as a quintessential perfect couple and invite Maggie and her husband to dinner. During the conversation, an interesting interaction happens between Bob and Linda. Linda makes a joke and Bob states that her joke is killing him, and Linda quickly states that it was just a joke. In this society, every instance of negativity must be squashed or ignored, just like how Maggie ignored the very obvious fact that Winston was dead. Just as Maggie accepts Bob and Linda's invitation, Charlie arrives home. Charlie lives across the street from Maggie, Bob, and Linda. Bob and Linda invite Charlie to the same dinner, and Charlie declines, at first. He states that he'll be busy playing with his trains in the basement. However, Bob and Linda become more and more insistent and suspicious, and all four of their left eyes glow red, and Charlie accepts the invitation. What is that red eye for? Who is controlling it? Did it impact Charlie's final decision? We don't know the answers to these questions, at least not yet. Charlie enters his house and Maggie stares at the camera that is pointed right at her. What she's thinking about is anyone's guess at this point. With that, we end this chapter with possibly even more questions than we had at the end of last chapter. Regardless, we'll move on. This chapter starts with Maggie making spaghetti sauce. As she cooks it, her reflection is in the concoction and a bubble pops right where her left eye would be. In chapter 2, we saw that their left eyes glow red when Charlie refused the offer for the dinner, so this is a little reminder to the readers that this will be an important thing to remember. Right before Sam comes in, a little blob of sauce flies from the pot to Maggie's face, right below her right eye. It is a small detail, but I have a feeling that it will be important later on. Eventually, Sam comes in and the couple eats dinner together. Right before dinner is served, Sam looks around for Winston, their pet. In chapter 1, it is revealed that Winston is dead and the couple was just going through the motions to keep up the idea that everything is okay. Eventually, Sam says that Winston doesn't look good and that Maggie should take him to the vet. As it is obvious that he is already dead, the question becomes, where are they actually taking him? However, in a beat, the conversation changes to something more light, taking out the trash. Maggie asks Sam to take out the trash, but before he does, he pours rat poison all over the trash. Why would he do that? Well, unlike other questions that the story has given us, we are promptly provided an answer to this question. Outside, there is a human at the trash can. This one has a cat mask, just like the other people that we met in the story, but this person's mask is tattered and their entire mouth area can be seen. Based on the clothing, it seems that this person is a teenager. So far, we've only seen adults in this story, despite there being a playground in chapter 2. Is this the fate that the children and adolescents in this world face? We don't know for sure, as Sam drops the trash and hurries back into the house. However, just as the couple starts their dinner, the teenager appears in front of their house and pleads with them to give him unpoisoned food. Maggie and Sam's left eyes glow red and Sam brings the dead carcass of Winston out under the guise that he wants to go out. Before closing the door, Sam says, "I love you, boy," showing us a little trace of emotion that is so hard to find in these characters. The teenager gratefully takes the dog and says, "A dog? And it's not poison?" I know what this must mean. What does this mean? We don't find out, as the comic ends with the loud munching sounds coming from the teenager eating their beloved dog. The chapter starts at the neighbor's house. Bob is setting up for dinner and a song is playing in the background. I searched online for this song and I couldn't find it, so I'm assuming that the lyrics were made up by the author for this part. By this part of my reading experience, I already had formed the theory that the lack of children in the story was an important detail. Was this song about their children, or is it about something else? With that question, we are brought back to Sam and Maggie's house. There, Maggie stares at Winston's collar. She and Sam are getting ready to go to the dinner, and Sam has chosen the perfect dress for her. one that would match well with his tie. However, that dress is cut up. Maggie instead chooses a bright red dress with a low neckline. Compared to the other dress, this one is a dress that you would use to stand out in the crowd, which goes against everything that the society approves of. Maggie asks Sam to zip up her dress, and there's a moment of romantic chemistry between the couple, to which Maggie states that it has been a while. Since what? They've gone on a nice date? They've been intimate? Maybe both? Regardless, we are brought to Bob and Linda's place, where they are making the last-minute preparations for the dinner. As Bob looks outside the window, Linda asks Bob if they are sticking to the plan. What is that plan? They don't say, but Bob instead looks outside the window and watches as Charlie throws away a few packages of foil before going to their house. Honestly, I'm a little worried for Charlie at this point. As the chapter ends, Charlie approaches Bob and Linda's house, and we are left at a cliffhanger just right before the dinner is about to begin. This is one of the best openings for a story that I've seen in a long while. Honestly, more than half of the things that I picked out in this analysis were stuff I only noticed after revisiting the story. The story is great in giving questions and only providing just enough answers to keep up interest in the story. If this review interests you in reading the whole story, I have a link in the description to read the story on Webtoons. Until next time, stay safe everyone.